What's up, everybody? Welcome to Call Her Creator, powered by Stan, where we help you make money doing what you love. I'm Caitlin Rhodes, also known as Social Marketing Queen, and today I've got a really good episode for you guys. I am constantly getting DMs about people wanting to get their foot in the door with social media marketing. How can I do what you're doing? What do you do? What did you have to do to get there? Did you go to school for this? All the time I'm getting these DMs, even friends, like if I see them out and they'll ask me what I'm doing and I explain everything. And, I never really know how to tell someone, hey, here's how I went from point A to point B, and that huge story in between. So there's so many different paths you can take when you do decide that you want to work in this industry. So I thought it would be helpful to have a conversation with some women who are truly acing the social media marketing world. We're going to talk to two amazing, successful women who are also the host of Marketing Happy Hour. This is a weekly marketing/career podcast for millennials and Gen Z marketers. And it's hosted by Cassie Tucker and Erica Spitzley. Now, Erica is a PR and brand marketing consultant for brands in the CPG space. She's got an 8-year background in developing brand marketing and PR strategies for small, medium, and large scale businesses, from ideation all the way to execution. So she knows her stuff. And then there's Cassie, who's an independent marketing strategy consultant. She helps her clients articulate compelling messages that resonate with their target audience, drive meaningful connections, and ultimately help focus them on sales growth. Both of these ladies are truly rocking their careers right now. I had so much fun talking to them. We all just hit it off. And then I learned that they're only like an hour away from me, which is crazy because I live in a really small town. But I can't wait for y'all to hear this episode. I hope that it helps one of you, inspires one of you. If you really want to get into the social media marketing space, it really, at the end of the day, just takes you saying, okay, I'm ready to do this, and then following the steps. Like, you can only for so long think about it, but really what's going to help you do it is to actually do it. So me and the girls are going to teach you how to actually do it. Now, before we get into today's episode, I have a little update on Instagram that I wanted to share with you guys. This week, there was a little bit of pandemonium over a recent post by the creators account on Instagram. Poor guy was just trying to explain how engagement bait will not get promoted on the app. Now, background, most people don't know this, but what he was saying is literally written on Facebook, Meta, Instagram's, not terms and conditions, but like they have this spot on the website somewhere that tells you what you can and can't do on the app. And he literally was reading it verbatim. And I only know this because I had talked with you guys a couple of episodes ago about engagement bait, and I had shared a reel on it, and everyone was asking me questions. So I had to really go into detail about what I meant. But at the end of the day, Instagram doesn't want you guys baiting your people. They don't want spammy hooks. They don't want you saying things like, comment your second in your phone or you're going to die today. Like those used to be all over the internet on Facebook, I remember, and they were scary, but Facebook doesn't want that. They want true, genuine connection. So if you're using DM automation, if you're using ManyChat, it's okay to tell people to comment a word because you're going to send them value at the end of the day. You're going to send over something to help them. That is not what Instagram is against, okay? So keep doing your thing, keep helping people out. At the end of the day, they just don't want you like tricking the system, I guess. And it's hard to really explain what that means. But what I read from Meta is really just like spammy things, as the example I gave you guys. So I did some extra research, and on Meta's Business Help Center, there's actually an article about all this. I can link it in this episode for you guys so you can read about it. But it talks about things that you don't want to do, like engagement bait and all that. But when it comes down to it, there's a question that says, is all engagement on Facebook, Meta, bad? And they say definitely not. While lots of posts that use engagement bait tactics try to boost content that isn't relevant or meaningful, and their example is something like this if you're an Aries. So that's like not meaningful. There's no real true value for your audience when you do something like that. But they say other examples can provide benefits to people. For example, posts that circulate a missing child report or raising money for a cause or asking for travel tips. These posts drive authentic engagement, and we take precautions not to impact them them with our machine learning model. So at the end of the day, they are saying, don't be spammy, provide true value. So hope that clears stuff up. If you have questions, feel free to drop me a DM over on Social Marketing Queen or Call Her Creator on Instagram, and I will get back to you. So let's get into today's episode and meet the lovely ladies of the hour. Hello, ladies. I'm so excited to have our marketing happy hour podcast duo. Like, how do you guys introduce yourself when people are introducing the two of you together?
That works.
Yeah, that's great. Yep. We love it.
Okay, so we have Cassie and Erica here. I'm going to let them both kind of talk to us. We're going to really dive into how we even got into social media marketing and marketing in general. There's so many people out there that want to get into this space, and they're like always racking my brain. How'd you do it? And so I need other people to explain how they did it too, because obviously I'm not doing a good job at that. So ladies, let's just get into it today. Who wants to start us off with their little introduction?
Erica, go ahead.
Oh my gosh, amazing. Well, I always like to say that I fell into social media and just marketing in general because my undergrad, I majored in English, and it was just really the fastest path to graduation. I was just like, how do I get from point A to point B? But while I was in college, I started a coffee blog called City Brews. At the time, it was called Tampa Brews, and it was just about all of the fun coffee shops in the Tampa area. And that's kind of how I fell in love with like social marketing in general. I was like working with brands through that channel and like growing that channel, and it was just so fun as like a hobby to do outside of school. And then while I was still in school, I had an internship where I was put in charge of the social and influencer strategy for a nationwide chain of restaurants, which is pretty crazy to think that they just put a college kid in charge of that. But I learned a lot through that. And then when that internship ended and I graduated from college, I went up to Nashville, and around that same time, Cassie went up to New York, and we just kind of like stayed in touch about all of the things that we were doing in marketing. She was working in marketing. I was working in marketing and also in ministry up in Nashville. And then at one point I moved back to Florida, and I came on board at a hair care brand called Not Your Mother's. They have like, they're most famous for dry shampoo. And I was kind of brought on. Yeah. They're like so fun. They're based in Tampa, which like I feel like no one really knows. But yeah, I was brought on to help out in social and influencer and PR and all of the things. And I feel like I credit that experience with a lot of just my love for the marketing space in general. And then when they wanted everybody to come back into the office, I was like, maybe not. So I shifted to a media company that I worked at for a while. Cassie and I were doing the Marketing Happy Hour podcast at the time. So I got my feet wet in all things media, podcast, all of that. And that was really fun. And then I just decided that I wanted to do my own thing. So I had to quit that job. It was very scary, but it was very needed. It was what I needed to do. And I then started doing consulting for different brands. And so that's what I've been doing for the past about 2 years now. I want to say I've been working with CPG brands and just some really fun brands that I love on their social strategy, on their marketing strategy as a whole, on influencer marketing. And I actually just started a full-time role in influencer marketing. So I've kind of been around the block. I've done a lot of different things in social, and so has Cassie. So I'll let her speak to her journey.
Yeah, absolutely. So same, like definitely not a linear journey. I went to USF in Tampa, got my degree in PR, and I did that degree because I was like, I don't know what I want to do, but PR sounds like it works. I love to write. I love to be creative. And so I'm sure I can do something in there. Long story short, I also worked in the hospitality industry in Tampa as well, and slowly pivoted into social media, and ended up at the drop of a hat moving to New York after visiting the city for the first time. Like 2 weeks later after that first visit, I was like, I love it here. I feel like this is a good step for my career. Let's do it. So I moved up there, and I lived there for over a year and worked for an amazing agency with just a ton of amazing brand clients, huge, huge brands. And so was able to work on a ton of launches and campaigns. And that time really deepened my love, I would say, for strategy and just creative and how to build community on social media. I ended up moving back to Florida after that time. I needed some sunshine back in my life. And so went back, came back down here and ended up in 2019 leaving my full-time position that I had again back in Tampa and started my own thing. I started building my clientele on the side, which was totally not predictable for myself. I did not ever anticipate being an entrepreneur, but people started asking if that was something that I could provide. And I said yes. And I ended up loving it and felt like there was a need in the marketplace for really good customer service and really good storytelling in the social media space. And I felt like that was a gap that I could fulfill. And so ended up right before COVID hit, leaving my full-time job and jumping into this. So almost 5 years in now of working for myself, which has been incredibly rewarding. And even through that too, I've made a lot of pivots in my business. Now I really focus on just general strategy. I love numbers and I love kind of digging into the data and the research. And so the kind of base of my business is building out marketing strategies for small business owners and entrepreneurs that don't have a ton of support internally, and they know they need a really strong marketing foundation, and that's not their expertise. So I'm someone they call, and I'm able to help them. And it's incredibly rewarding to see these small business owners who have this big idea for themselves. It's literally their baby and their child they're developing, but they just need a way to get it out there. So that's been incredibly rewarding. And then also too, just podcasting has been a huge part of my life recently. And that's been an awesome medium to step into myself and with Erica, but also to be able to share that love with my clients, and they take that on as marketing channel as well. So that's it in a nutshell.
I love both of y'all's stories. What's so funny is my journey wasn't really like I knew I was going to be in social media either. I graduated from the College of Journalism. I actually wanted to be a news anchor,
Mm-hmm.
but I got out of college. The hours for, newbie news anchors is like 3 a.m. And I knew I wanted to have a family one day. So I got into hospitality too as their PR manager. And I worked for some big hotels in Orlando. And then I ended up leaving because I had a baby, and hospitality is hard work-life balance. I'll tell you that much.
Oh, yeah.
But I think from both of y'all, what I'm noticing is that you guys were go-getters. And that's one thing with social media is I don't think it can fall on your lap. Yes. But like, if you really want to take advantage of it, you can't sit there and let it happen to you. You have to go out and do it yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think the biggest thing we especially tell young professionals on our show, especially those coming straight out of college, is if you have an idea or something you want to try or do, just do it. And you can always pivot from that and change. And, I think Erica and I would both agree. We're still trying to figure out what we're doing when we grow up too. And so always innovating, always learning, and having this idea and notion in your head that I'm not done yet figuring out whatever that thing is. And I think that is a really good standpoint of like humility and knowing that you're not quite an expert in your space, and just always being eager to pivot and learn a better way to do things. And I think that's the best way to do it. And that's where the best outcomes come out of, I think.
I love that. That makes
I totally agree too. And I think there's a certain like curiosity that you want to maintain as somebody in social media or somebody in marketing in general. Like, you want to make sure that you don't lose that spirit of curiosity, because the landscape changes so often. And I think that is something that we lose as we kind of get older, fall into routines just to kind of get through the day. And we're really meant for more. We are meant to enjoy what we do and be fulfilled in and outside of work. And I think that maintaining that spirit of curiosity can like really help with that. That's something that Cassie and I have dived like really deep into the past like couple years, is what really like fulfills us. Okay, how can we pass along this knowledge to other people through our podcast and through the work that we do every day? And I think that's it. That's a huge piece of it too.
I think that, yeah. Everything y'all are saying, I'm like, is my brain inside of their head right now? So Erica, tell me, was there a particular moment or maybe experience that you had in marketing where you're like, oh my gosh, I was meant to do this?
Yeah, I don't know that I can pinpoint it to a specific time. But there's been so many like exciting moments. I mean, I went to Fashion Week to do social media for the hair care brand I was working for. That was just like incredible. And there were so many other incredible moments like that. But I think the major thing was when it clicked for me how impactful social really is and how impactful influencer marketing really is and how impactful those relationships are, because social, influencer, all of that, it's really the first touch point that many of your potential consumers have with your brand. I think I said this on another podcast. It's almost like your consumer's first date with your brand. And so that can really like make or break the relationship that they have with you moving forward. And so I think knowing that you're in an area where like it's just so impactful and it really truly does drive sales and drives the bottom line through a lot of different touch points, but this could be like the first introduction to your brand. That's a really cool area to be in, and you can really shape the success of a business or brand through social media. So that's kind of like what I love about it.
You felt it in your heart. Yeah.
Yeah.
What about you, Cassie?
Yeah, I think for me, again, there's not a specific moment per se, but I think as I was going into this, I thought about who I was a kid. I know that kind of sounds a little silly, but I feel like there's this thread that follows us all through our lives that if we can think about who we were as a child, the type of things that we gravitated towards as kids, it really makes a ton of sense a lot of times what we do for a living now. So like, for example, when I was growing up, I absolutely loved to write. I was always writing short stories and I was writing letters to people and just always writing, always creating, always taking photos and creating like content, quote unquote, when I was a kid, videos and stuff for my family. And so now to think about where I'm at today, I'm like, okay, this makes a ton of sense. And this is a passion that was planted in me at a very young age. And I was able to kind of bring it to fruition, even though it wasn't super intentional. But I think just paying attention here, and the point is paying attention to these things that light us up. And a lot of times, again, they follow us throughout our lives. And so making note of those things, and it could be anything. And chances are those passions can come to fruition in a number of different ways and a number of types of businesses and careers. And so not neglecting that in your life and really making note of that, because I feel like in order to continue to fuel what you do every single day, whether it's social media or general marketing or whatever it is, there has to be passion at the base of that. And if there isn't, it's really, really easy to lose drive and motivation for your day-to-day career.
That's so true. And I can say too, like, I didn't hate my jobs back then, but I never felt as excited as I love coming to quote unquote work because I'm so passionate about it. And what you're saying too, like, where you have these passions and they come into fruition as your job later on in your life or your career. I used to, news anchor, make videos. I had a news a news like cast that I did with this video at home. And I always thought I'd be an entertainer or something. And now I am an entertainer because I'm on Reel.
Yeah.
I've really taken that video avenue, and it's just so crazy how things work out, which I mentioned on your podcast, like everything will work out.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So Erica, if you had to talk to somebody about maybe they're unhappy about their job that they're in right now, and they're considering a job in social media marketing, what kind of advice could you give them?
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like we talk about this a lot on our show too. We have a lot of like career focused episodes that go through, I'm unhappy in my workplace. Like, what do I do now? And I think the first step is to really sit down with yourself and identify what it is that you want to be doing. I think it's important to understand that first and what really drives you and what your passions are. Just like Cassie was saying, and I alluded to earlier, which like we're meant to be fulfilled in and outside of work. And if you can sit down and do the work to understand what that looks like for you, you'll be on a better path to where you want to end up eventually. So I would say that's the first step. I would say the second step is go ahead and look and see what's out there. I always recommend learning from community, learning from, listening to podcasts like Jenna Kutcher's Goal Digger or Guy Raz's How I Built This, or your podcast, Call Her Creator, our podcast, Marketing Happy Hour. There are so many resources out there that can teach you some of the things that maybe you don't know yet. So I'd always say, do your research, get out there and learn, maintain curiosity, and then see what's out there in the way of a career. So go on LinkedIn, be browsing those, whether you want to work in a corporate setting, be browsing those job descriptions that are available at the moment. Or if you want to work for yourself, look at other people who are working for themselves right now. What do their websites look like? What are things, what is their presence on social media? What are they doing to kind of grab people in and help people understand what it is that they do? Do all of the research that you possibly can before you quit your job, because that's really going to set you up for success. And then the last tip I would say is, once you have that in your tool belt and you have, where you want to be heading, like solidified in your brain, don't be afraid to quit. I think that's something that people, often do. They're just like, I'm too afraid to leave this job, so I'm just going to stay here forever. And we're no longer in an economy or in a world where that works. Just do the things that you dream of, because I don't know, life is short, and you will be a lot happier.
Amen. As cliche as that is, life is too short to do things that you don't want to do anymore.
Yep.
What about you, Cassie? What kind of advice would you give to someone that thinks they may want to get in social media, but they're not sure?
Yeah, I think the number one thing is, until you do it, it's really hard to actually know. So one thing that I did early on before I quit my job and really pursued my full-time company is I took on clients on the side. And even before that, I think one piece of advice that I give to people is, even use yourself as a client. Or if your cousin or friend or sister has a business, ask them if you can step in and help create content for them, even for free, just to get your feet wet and kind of learn how everything on social works and test. Because until you do that, it's really hard to know 100% if you're going to really enjoy it. And so starting with that and really working to build your portfolio up front, and then using that introductory work as a way to sell your skill set, either to a corporate role or also for yourself as well. If you're thinking of becoming a contractor or starting your own business, I think actually doing the work and getting in there is really going to be that big piece. And also, social changes all the time. And so the way social works today may be different how it is tomorrow. So the sooner that you can get in there and really just start building those fundamental skills, but also paying attention to the changes and the things happening on these platforms and adapting and trying new strategies based off of those changes, is also going to help as well.
Very, very true. I always tell people too, I'm like, just start with an example client, or start your own, like, think about what you're really good at and start your own Instagram or your own TikTok. So at least you have some kind of portfolio to share. That's how I started my social media agency. I was just going to do freelance. And then the people just kept coming and coming. And I was like, oh my gosh, I can hire a team. I can be an entrepreneur. So you just have to start. That is the first step. Okay, let's see. Erica, how are we doing on time? We're good. What are some common misconceptions about working in social media marketing that you think people should be aware of?
That everyone thinks that they're going to be able to do your job. I feel like that's something that, we hear a lot just from social media managers in general, whether they're working with a brand or they're on their own having, freelance clients. It's like, social media is often viewed as, something that anybody can do, but there is a lot of, strategy involved. There's a lot of planning that goes into it. There's all sorts of things that go into it that, might not be visible to whether it's leadership or just other, people in the industry. But I think one thing that you can do to just like, manage that is make sure that the people that you're working with understand, how much work really does go into social media. So if you put together a plan, have the data to back up what you're doing, have the things that you're trying to achieve, like the KPIs you're trying to achieve and things like that. So people really understand that there's a lot more that goes into it than just like throwing up a silly post on Instagram or on TikTok, because that's, like I said, something that we hear a lot from social media managers is like, my leader came to me and said, just do this. And I was like, I don't know how to communicate that just doing that is not going to drive or move the needle at all. So I think just having like the data to back up the things that you're doing is always going to be helpful there. But that is the biggest like misconception, is that you have such an easy job that anybody can do.
Love that you are sharing this. I'm going to send this to all of my family. No, my family.
Right.
Some of them are still so confused at what I do. Like I've tried to ask my children. I think the teacher asked my son what I do for a living, and I think he told her that I make videos. And I'm like,
Yeah.
if it was just making videos, I'd have an easy life. But yeah, trying to really show your value of everything that you do. I think my husband's just now starting to understand. But what about you, Cassie? Do you have any kind of like common misconceptions that you hear or think about?
Yeah, I think one of the things kind of piggybacking off of that, and I hear this all the time from clients, is that it's just easy to go from 0 to 1,000 overnight. Yes, that can happen occasionally. Things can pop off, they can go viral, it can cause you to grow. A lot of times virality only works in certain cases in a long-term sense. And so that's also something to keep in mind. But it takes time. And to your point on our podcast, we were talking about the power of consistency. You have to be consistent. You have to be out in front of your audience on a very regular basis. You have to be in your DMs, building one-on-one relationships with people. And ultimately, too, you have to remember that while numbers are very important, numbers don't tell the whole story. So I think if that is your first and foremost goal on social media, just to get big and to have a large following, again, going back to the passion piece, you're in it for the wrong reasons. So when the numbers start to not work out in your favor, you're going to lose that fizzle and that passion for what you're doing. So keeping your passion, but also your community, the people that you're serving and helping through your content as your number one priority, that's going to help your content come more naturally and more from a servant viewpoint versus just trying to create content to go viral or to get big or whatever. So just remember, there's more to the story. It is a little bit harder, but also on the flip side of that, remembering that if you are trying to grow, because we all are, right? That is a goal that we have in mind. It does take time. So don't lose hope there, and just keep going and stay consistent and know that your hard work in the future will pay off in the long run.
Absolutely.
You can't see me, but I'm doing snaps in agreement over here because I'm like that. Incredible.
That's what I do too. I wonder if that's a marketing girl thing.
Yes.
I will say too, just to add to that, virality, like, yeah, we all want to go viral just to grow our accounts, but virality is not always the best thing, because you'll get like this influx of followers and then they'll follow you for that one thing.
Right.
Keep posting other like really valuable driven stuff and they won't even notice it because they won't
engage.
Yeah. And then it tinks your engagement. So it's a very slippery slope when it comes to virality. I've had some videos go viral. It's definitely helped my page grow. But every single time I've had a video go viral, trolls come out and they're really sweet.
Yeah.
I grew very thick skin this last 2 or 3 years that I've been growing it. And then the other side of that is it doesn't automatically mean more money either. So
right. One thing I'll say on that too, just kind of going off of that really quickly, is one thing that is important as well, on top of consistency, is having like a very clear message throughout your content and like a clear like okay, this is who I serve. This is the type of content I provide. Because I think when you do have that as a foundation, when you do go viral and that viral piece of content is tied into like your overall brand, when someone does get on your page, they're going to realize, oh, Caitlin has like a ton of other videos related to this topic. So I'm not only going to follow her, but I'm going to continue to follow long-term because I know I'm going to get more of this. But I've seen, a lot of times with like funny accounts or whatever, for example, I've seen these accounts get picked up by like e-news or these big brands. They repost these funny videos, and then you go to the person's page and it's like nothing else is related to that piece of content, and it doesn't convert to followers. So that's something to keep in mind too, is making sure that, again, your content, if it is a trending piece or it's something that's like funny or with the purpose of growth, making sure it's still tied into like that bottom line message that you're trying to get out there.
Absolutely. Yeah. I like that. And then the last question, this is a quick question. What motivates you guys? What keeps you going?
Ooh, that's a good one. I think I would say just like community in general, what keeps us going, at least with our podcast and like, continuing to do that, is the community that we've been able to foster through that. And a big piece of that is like our LinkedIn group, our Facebook group, those people that are just like really engaged with our episodes every week and just like give us feedback and, help us to really, stay motivated to actually continue moving forward in the process of doing that podcast. And then just in general, like on the day-to-day of like my role and like what I do, everything that keeps me motivated is just like the offline things that make the online things, fulfilling. So like my friends, my family, I love to go on walks. I love to read. I love to explore new coffee shops. I love to travel, all of that stuff. That's really what keeps me motivated and really the driving factor in everything that I do, because the reason that I'm working is to get money to do that. So that's what keeps me motivated.
Yeah. To finance your lifestyle. I feel that in my bones. And I also agree with you on the community part. When I do have someone leave me a podcast review or send me a message, it like my heart, I feel it like jump out of my skin. It's so rewarding to feel like you impacted somebody's life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. We're actually going to be doing an event in New York. It's our first in-person event.
I want to come.
It's coming up in June. I guess it's almost June now, but it's coming up very soon. And we're just so excited to meet some of those community members in real life and like actually connect with them after 3 years of connecting only online. So we are so stoked to like see that all come to life. So
very, very cool. Cassie, where can we find you guys if we want to follow you? And then Erica, you can tell it. I know you guys have your business profiles and your podcast and then your personal stuff too. So fill me in.
Yeah. So personally, my favorite platform is LinkedIn. So Cassie Tucker on there, Instagram, Cassie Joy Tucker, and then collaboratively marketinghappyhr.com. So our website has podcasts, links to social, everything. I would say like collaboratively as well. LinkedIn is probably one of our favorite platforms. So Marketing Happy Hour on there. And then I'll let Erica share her personal pages as well.
Love your website.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Thank you. Beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yes, LinkedIn is my favorite platform as well. So Erica Spitzley on there. Instagram is eSpitz. If you just want to see travel photos, that's basically all I post. But then we're also on Instagram at Marketing Happy HR as well.
Amazing. You girls were lovely. This was so fun. I'm so excited. Y'all were my first interview people.
Thank you.
We're so easy.
We're so honored.
Yes, we're going to have to like check in with each other. Maybe in a couple months, we'll have you guys back on.
Oh, for sure.
But y'all were
sure.
Thank you so much.
Likewise. Thank you, Caitlin.
Okay, so that was an amazing episode. I hope you guys got as much value as I did. It's really nice to really like share our stories and kind of show people how we got to where we got and the steps that we took, because at the end of the day, like I told you guys at the beginning of this episode, it really just takes you deciding that you want to do it and then taking the steps necessary to get there. If you liked today's episode, please download my podcast and send it to a friend. Oh my God, am I being engagement baity right now? I hope not. But I really want to get my podcast out there to people that need to hear what I have to say. So leave me a little download, leave me a review, and I will see you guys next week. Thank you so much for listening today. I'll see y'all.